Hello everybody, this is Mr. Rob and welcome back to another episode of the South Carolina Gamecocks Dynasty here on EA Sports College Football 25, and today we've reached the end of year number 2, so we're going to do one last recap of the season before jumping into another offseason here in the series as we get ready for year number 3. I can't believe we're already about to hit our 3rd season of Gamecock football. I'm actually recording this live right after, literally like minutes after we finished the national championship game. So if you were there on Monday nights and were there in the live stream, I really appreciate it. If you want to watch it, check out the link. It is in the live stream section of the channel. Spoilers, so cover your ears if you don't want to know. But Oregon did knock off Michigan 37-10 in a pretty dominant win. The Ducks get their first ever national championship. And, well, that means the season's over. So today we're just going to recap it. If you're excited for this one, make sure you drop a like and you subscribe down below, especially if you want more Dynasty Mode content. I know I'm excited to get into another year and keep this thing going, baby. But we finished the season 7-6, and we actually made a bowl game this year, which was exciting, and we actually won our bowl game against Wisconsin. If you want to know the full bracket, here is what the college football playoff looked like. Oregon goes all the way from the 5 seed to winning the whole thing. So if you want to check it out, pause it. But that is the bracket. In terms of our season, it was, an up and down season. But overall, I was proud of the Gamecocks because, for the second straight year, we've had a tough schedule. And we played pretty good. We opened up the first game in a neutral site game in Atlanta, Georgia against Virginia Tech, and we lost 27-16. They were a good team this season. They finished ranked 13th, the 9-4. It was a tough game, but Kyron Drones and the Hokies were just too much for us. Then we bounced back. We play South Carolina State. We knocked them off 56-17, where Lenora Sellers sets a school record 8 touchdown passes, just slaughtering South Carolina State. Gets us back, gets our first win of the season, gets the confidence back. We carry that into the next game against Coastal Carolina, 30-14, and that's where we start to get ready for SEC play. We have a week off, and just like last year, we had tough SEC opponents. We host Kentucky 31-17. We lost that one. It's a game we probably should have won. We just committed too many mistakes, fumbling for a scoop and score and stuff like that. You can see, though, Kentucky, they actually made the playoff this year, so they were a good team, and it was a tough one. We get some revenge against Vanderbilt, who beat us last year. We knocked them off 34-24 this time in Columbia. And then we go and face LSU, and we lose 44-22, probably our biggest loss of the season. We just did not look good. Defense couldn't stop the Tigers. But again, another team that finished in the rankings. They also finished 9-4 on the season. And you can kind of start to see the trend with what this season is so far. The next week, we go to College Station, probably the toughest place to play in college football. We lose 45-31 to the Aggies. Just too much firepower out there. Connor Weekman just cooked us. But again, Texas A&M, they made the college football playoff. They were the 12 seed, 12 ranking finishing team, 10-3. Another good team. Basically, you're seeing if we played good teams, we lost. If we played teams we should beat, we won. So pretty standard season. And then we beat Missouri 38-20. That's a good win. Missouri is rebuilding. But, to go into and win the Battle of Columbia, the Mayor's Cup, is a good win. So good bounce back there after losing 3 of our last 4. And then we keep it going against Ole Miss, another team that was rebuilding this season. They lost all their playmakers from last year. They actually didn't win a conference game. We go in and knock them off 30-25. Then we host Alabama, the number 20 ranked team. We finished, and we lost 38-24. And again, Alabama was another good team. Then we beat Oklahoma in what was a just shocking game to watch. The fact that we just destroyed the Sooners, 42-14. That was our biggest win of the season because Oklahoma was actually a decent team this year. They finished 7-6 as well. Identical record to us, and the fact we got that victory, that was big because that put us into bowl eligibility. I wasn't sure if we were going to get there, but we got it done there. Then we had a week off, and then we played Clemson, our rivals, in a tough matchup here at home. We lost 39-33, just too many mistakes. Should have beat Clemson. Instead, we did not. But again, Clemson, they made the national playoff. They were the winners of the ACC, and, well, again, a playoff team. And then we played our bowl game. We went to the TransPerfect Music City Bowl and took care of business against Wisconsin 38-24 to finish 7-6. And we won when we played teams that finished ranked or not ranked. We were 7-0. The problem was when we played teams that finished ranked, we were 0-6. So if we played a ranked team, we lost. If we didn't, we won. So hey, just an interesting season there for the Gamecocks, but I'll take it all around. Good effort from them. We'll take a look at the stats. We'll go through our stats first, and then we'll take a look at the league leaders and stuff like that. Starting off for quarterback, you got to start off with Lenora Sellers, man, a sophomore. He played phenomenal this year. 3,600 yards, 32 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. A great starting quarterback. I've loved having him. Stepped up this season way better than last year. Rating was better. Rushing-wise, so much better. 8 on the ground as well, 544. He is a playmaker, and he's about to be an upperclassman, a redshirt junior next season. I am ecstatic for what Sellers will bring to the quarterback position. The only problem is we're at his deal breaker. We're no longer a top championship contender team. There's some rumblings that Sellers could transfer in the offseason. Is Sellers with a transfer? I don't even know what we would do. I mean, the only other guy who attempted to pass this year was Dante Reno, a redshirt freshman. I don't know if he's the answer. He's never played. So if Sellers transfers, we might have to go to the portal ourselves. It'd be very interesting at the quarterback position next year. I am praying that Sellers does not transfer. But, I mean, I guess you got to be prepared for all outcomes. But nonetheless, a great season for Sellers. In the rushing departments, it was a little shaky. McReynolds led the way, 963 yards, 6 touchdowns. He was the transfer from South Alabama this season. I thought he played well, but, I mean, his average is only 4 yards per carry. And I feel like the run game this year definitely took a step back with no Raheem Sanders. I think the offensive line was not good this year. We'll touch on them in a second. I don't think McReynolds is really that explosive. He's a lot smaller. I think he got banged up also towards the end of the season. So I think we need to find somebody else to spell him a little bit better. You can see Sellers' rushing numbers. Again, 8 touchdowns. That was the team lead. Simon McAllister was the primary spell back. If we did give a break, either it was him or it was Sellers running the football. He had 39 for 121, 1 touchdown. He's a redshirt sophomore. He's a power back, also on the smaller build. But he's also met in his deal breaker, so there's a chance, that he might not be here next season. Then we saw freshman Monty Soro get some playing time. He only played in 3 games, which is good. We were able to redshirt him once the season came to an end, but he did have a touchdown, so maybe he gets some production. He's more of a third down kind of passing back, and I think that would be his role next season. Jawarn Howell had a couple of carries. Sam Ika, I hope he doesn't transfer because he's a guy that we were able to get. He's a true freshman from last year from Memphis, Tennessee. I'm hoping that he gets a bigger role next year as a sophomore. So, again, a little bit up in the air. You can see a couple guys have some deal breakers here. I don't think all these guys are transferring. None of them are seniors, so we could bring them all back. But, again, a lot of flux going on here. In the receiving game, it was Nick Harbor. This isn't flex at all. Nick Harbor is the number 1 receiver on this team. 46 catches, 886 yards, 10 touchdowns, 19.3 average. I mean, this guy is just a game breaker. You know, his numbers are way up this year. The only thing was his touchdowns. But again, he hit double digits. He's going to be a true junior next season, and he is a lot of fun to have on the outside. I love having Nick Harbor. He's actually a junior already. I don't think they move it up. No, they did. So he's actually a true junior. So we'll have him for 1 more season. I was hoping we'd have him for 2, but looks like we won't. But I like Nick Harbor a lot. I forgot. Yeah, he's a junior. I knew that. What am I talking about? But he's the number 1 receiver. And then there was Elick Ayomanor, the Stanford transfer. That was our big get in the portal this season. I thought he did pretty good on the left side. I think it took him some time to get used to the offense and find his footing. But once he did, he started to get more involved. He actually had more catches than Harbor, 49 for 674 and 4 touchdowns. So a good job on the left side for Ayomanor. He was primarily the X receiver. I thought he did a good job of that, and I think he'll have an even bigger role next year as a senior. Tyshawn Russell really broke out. The redshirt sophomore had 9 touchdowns, including 4 in that game against South Carolina State. He actually led the team in receptions with 58 and 642. And, I mean, we got some playmakers on the outside. All 3 of these top guys receiving are underclassmen, so they all should be back next season. The only one I'm potentially worried about is Ayomanor. He could go pro. I don't think he will. But, you know, we have good playmakers for Sellers at quarterback next season. I think this offense could even take a bigger step in the next year. Jared Brown's a senior. He is going to be gone. I'm glad we got him some carries in a big game in the bowl game. because I'd love to see our seniors go out on top. He had 36 for 501 and 4. Over 100 of those yards came in that game against Wisconsin at the end of the season. We're going to miss you, Jared Brown. You just kind of got phased out of the offense, which, I mean, it's hard when you got all these playmakers. Also have tight end Nick Elskins, who will graduate 57 for 498 and 3 scores. I was honestly surprised he did this good. We had Joshua Simon last year. I thought it was going to be harder to replace. But Elskins stepped up, man. He played good. It'll be up to a couple of guys at tight end next year. I really don't know who's going to take that position because we'll scroll down to him. Connor Cox and a true freshman Jason Beckett kind of struggled at tight end this year on the field. Nobody really stepped up in their role. So maybe we look to the portal for a tight end. You can see McReynolds' receiving yards. He had 2 more as well. And then the backs getting involved down the stretch. Blocking, this was the weakness of the offensive side of the football. The blocking was actually not very good. Our offensive line was not good at all. Sellers plenty of times just running for his life. I mean, you could see the tackles, 17 sacks allowed given up from Cam Pringle and 11 given up from Josiah Thompson. The saving grace is they are young. Pringle is a sophomore. Josiah Thompson was a redshirt freshman, so hopefully they get better next year. But we need to clean up the offensive line because, especially for a pass protector, that was not good. Sellers needs better protection. Up the middle wasn't very good as well. Trevon Bowe wasn't good at right guard, and neither was left guard Marquis Anderson. And at center, we had Ryan Brubaker. Now, we should return all of these guys, barring any transfers. So it'd be good to have a unit that has chemistry from this season. But other than that, there's plenty of guys here who need to step up. I mean, maybe Charles Galloway gets a look at left tackle. Chase Swigert could get some love. Mustafa Ororo, the true freshman this year, redshirted. Maybe he comes in as a redshirt next year and gets some snaps. But we got to figure something out with his offensive line because we can't have a repeat of this season. On defense, the tackle leader was Cam Robinson, the Virginia transfer who was brought in. He was great. 127 tackles, 21 TFLs, a sack and a half. I thought our defense played really well this season, especially down the stretch. They had a couple of rough games there against LSU and A&M, but I think towards the end of the day, they played really good football. We'll do it, but tackles for a loss first. That'll get the lineman up there. Brian Thomas actually led the way. The senior had 22, 2.5 sacks. He'll be missed on that left side. We talked about Cam Robinson's numbers. Dylan Stewart now, after his sophomore campaign, please don't transfer. He led the team in sacks for the second straight season. He had 7.5. He actually did go down a little bit in his numbers from last year. Last year he had 11.5, but he had more tackles. So I do think, he's just rounding out his game. 7.5 sacks, I'm perfectly fine with that production. 6.5 for TJ Sanders. I thought the up the middle was I thought they were surprisingly good this year. I did not expect a lot of TJ Sanders and Tracy Milton up the middle, but they played great. Sanders was awesome in the run game. He doesn't have as many TFLs as Stewart, but I think he did a great job plugging the holes. There were some times, though, we did get kind of gashed in the ground game. I think that goes more to the outside guys. You didn't see many big runs up the middle. That's because Sanders and Milton were kind of plugging those holes. Milton is a redshirt sophomore, so he will have a couple more seasons to grow, while Sanders will, unfortunately, graduate. Jadius Gear on the left side as well. He had 4 sacks. I thought he was okay. He was kind of a culprit of those run games, him and Jerron Willis. I think he needs to do a better job in the run game as well. But they're pretty solid. Gear will graduate. Willis will be back next season. We talked about Brian Thomas, Cam Robinson. In the secondary, we only had 5 interceptions. I would like to see a little bit more. Willis had 1. Nick Emanwari, the captain of the defense. This is probably the biggest loss for this team. He will be gone. He's a senior. He graduates. I hope he gets drafted. I think he deserves a shot. His numbers definitely went down this year, though. He had a lot more interceptions last season. He had 4. This year only brought in 1. So, maybe they just weren't throwing towards him more. I do think his run pursuit angles were a little suspect sometimes, but that's something hopefully he can step on. But I'd love to see Nick Emanwari in the NFL. Willis also had 1. Peyton Williams, the redshirt junior safety. He played in the slot a good bit, which for a safety is pretty impressive. He'll be back next year. I liked what I saw to him. Judge Collier will be back. He missed a lot of the season with an injury, though. But when we did have the Judge on the field, he was a very good nickel corner. So I'm hoping he stays around so he can kind of stay in that spot. Other corners, Emery Floyd. He had a quiet season. I would like to see a little bit more out of him. We did lose our top 2 corners last year in O'Donnell Fortune and Vicari Swain. So Floyd was kind of thrust to that number 1 corner spot. A little shaky season, but if he returns for his senior year, it should be a little bit better. And then Barry Mayo, he was the other corner. He will graduate, so we wish him well to his future endeavors. And then Joe Kilgore, we didn't really talk a lot about him. He didn't play a whole lot, only 57 tackles, quiet year for him. And then Jalen Kilgore as well. I don't know how I skipped him, but he was good. 99 tackles, 1 sack, 1 INT. But the defense overall, I would say, played pretty good. Kicking-wise, Mason Love has really stepped up as a kicker. He was a low-ranked freshman. He hit 90% this year, didn't miss an extra point. Good season for him. Punting, though, was a problem. Taylor Montez was very suspect. He didn't have the strongest leg, and I need to see more out of him next year, or otherwise we're going to go to the portal and try to find a punter, because there was plenty of times he did not punt the ball far. So we had 1 kick return touchdown. It was true freshman Chance Clements from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I'd like to see him maybe get involved in the receiving game next year, but we're just so long jam at receiver. If anything, him and Mazio Bennett were good return men. And then we didn't have a punt return. It was Jared Brown dealing with those. So that does it for our stats. We'll go through the league leaders up next just to see where things stand. Let's start out in the national sort of things. The top passer this year was Jimmy Archer from Cal. The redshirt freshman led the country in passing. 52 touchdowns. Oh my gosh. If he didn't throw for 14 INTs, he probably would have been the Heisman. So Cal has got themselves a quarterback. Remember, they also made the college football playoff. Dante Moore, we saw in the national championship game. He looked solid. Miller Moss of USC. There's the Heisman Trophy winner, Cade Klubnik, Gunnar Stockton, Ty Simpson up there as well. A couple guys with 50 touchdowns, Klubnik and Archer, followed by Moss. Your INT leader was Jeremiah Salem, Billy Wiles, and Jay Tagaloa with 19. In the rushing category, your rushing champion this year was Darius Taylor. He had 251 carries. That is a lot of carries. And you can see Reynolds is up there, and he's the only one not at 1,000 yards. You can see Isaiah Jacobs of UAB up there, Ishmael Mahdi of Texas State, Trevor Etienne, Jaden Thomas, Roy Dale Williams, just to name a few. Touchdown leaders 18 with Darius Taylor. He is the king, followed by Le'Veon Moss and Texas A&M is Shamari Lawrence of FIU. Receiving leader was Omari Kelly of Middle Tennessee, so we'll see if he gets picked up in the NFL. Reception leader was 96 Jaden Dotton of the Toledo Rockets. As far as touchdowns, 19 for Dickey. Got those 2 in the national championship game that puts him over Wesley Grimes and Devin Hyatt, excuse me. Sacks, who gave it the most sacks? It was the Oregon guard that we saw, Tackle, Ryan Maseko of UMass, Jaleel Davis of FIU, and Xavier Gray of Liberty, and he was actually also hurt. Your tackles leader is Leviticus Sua in Arizona. Sack leader 13 for Everett Rousseau, the only guy to get double-digit sacks all season. Interceptions, Jared Kamen of UMass. And then if we take a look, was there any other? There was plenty of kick returns, actually. There's a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 kick returns in the college. And 2 punt return touchdowns for Mario Williams. Good job for him. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 punt return touchdowns. So good year for special teams. And that will be the league leaders. If you want to look at team stats, again, these are sometimes skewed just because of the quarters and stuff I play on. We'll do it by SEC. Actually, no, we'll do it nationally first. We'll do it by SEC. I lied. In terms of the conference, points per game, we were the 5th best scoring team in the conference. Rushing-wise, we were the 2nd best rushing team. Passing, we were 3rd. In terms of our defense, we had a okay passing. I will take those numbers, especially the quarters we played on. And the rushing was kind of there as well. In terms of the points gave up, we gave the 2nd most points in the SEC. And our turnovers were just not very high. I do want to look at our turnovers. We were, what was the differential? -2. Okay, which for me is actually not the worst, if you've seen my Madden series. But that'll do it for the recap. And the next episode will be the off-season. And I cannot wait to get through it. It's going to be exciting. I'm almost scared to even advance the week, just to see what happens. But thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you drop that like and you subscribe down below, especially if you want more Dynasty Mode content. This is Mr. Rob, and I'll see you in the next one.